straight razor blade them off. Yeah. Which I switched to nail clippers because every once in a while you would mess up and it would just hurt. So basically just like razor blade yourself.
Welcome back to New York City, everybody. I'm Todd. I'm Cole. And between the two of us, we coach over 15,000 workouts here in the city. And today, we're going to be answering your questions. You ready, Coach?
Yep.
All right, let's do it. Question number 1. Do I need pre-workout?
No, but if you like it, go for it.
No, and I'm going to tell you why while he thinks about more of that answer. Thing is, it starts to become this this snowball effect that it's super hard to get out of. All right, so you start taking pre-workout in the first place because you probably were drinking coffee or you were drinking some other kind of caffeine and you got a tolerance to it. And so then you started taking pre-workout and you start to A, develop a tolerance to it, and B, you actually have no idea what they're putting in those pre-workouts. The supplement industry is just not regulated at all. And there's a lot of stories about when companies create new products, they put in some ingredients that maybe aren't quite legal, so people enjoy them. They stop putting them in later. They start taking them out after you're already buying the product. If you need pre-workout every time that you work out, then you just want to be looking at your sleeping and your recovery to see why you need to be pumping so much stuff inside of you just to get through a workout. Those are my thoughts.
Absolutely, and to build on that, if you never take pre-workout or you very seldom take caffeine, you laughing?
I want to hear what you're going to say.
I drink plenty of caffeine. And then you come up on a competition day or like Saturday with friends, sometimes you really want to do well and you take a scoop of pre-workout, you will feel it that time and it will get you going.
Yeah, so should I take it once or twice or should I take it regularly, I guess is a different question. If you've never taken pre-workout and you start taking it, one of the funny things is people are just like, it just feels like your skin's crawling, some of them. You're definitely going to have some effects. Yeah. I don't know that I would take it for the first time at a competition.
No.
But yeah, that's true. There is a certain time and place where it could be appropriate.
But keep in mind that like professional fitness athletes who do 2, 3, 4 workouts a day, and the same thing when they compete, they do 4 workouts a day. They're not taking pre-workout before every single one of those workouts. They can't. You would explode. So it is not necessary to perform.
There are also some ingredients in pre-workouts that are banned by certain sports leagues, so that's definitely something that you should be knowledgeable about if you're actually competing in some area like that.
But to be fair, there is lots of science that says caffeine does increase your brain function a little bit in a positive way when you do fitness. It's completely valid. Do you need it? No. Do people win without it? Yes.
What about the guys that will just pour?
No, that's gross. That's just
pour it in their mouth, 1 or 2 scoops before they go and do some sort of workout. That's too far. That's a bridge too far.
That's just gross. Just don't do it.
Next question.
Should you work out with your significant other?
No.
Hard no.
Maybe.
I'm a soft no.
Probably not.
Situationally not. It didn't work out well for me.
Oh, I didn't realize this was personal experience.
That's all I got. I don't know.
What does that mean? What's that mean? It didn't work out well for you?
It worked well for a little while, and then it doesn't.
All right, so go ahead.
But that's my personal experience. But I also have personal experience coaching lots of members who are just long time, either couples or they're married or they're just partners forever and ever and ever, and they work out together happily. So,
yeah. So here's the deal: did you start knowing each other because you were working out together, or did you know each other and have you been dating, and then are you trying to then start layering in the working out? Because if you're in the functional fitness world, they're group workouts, a lot of people are going to meet that way, and if you met working out together, then of course you're going to keep working out together. The challenge is if one person's into yoga and then the other one's into weightlifting, and then you're trying to find a way to spend more time together, more quality time, and then you're trying to put those together. A lot of people consider those to be, I don't know if I want to say safe places, but definitely like their place.
Personal space.
Personal space, thank you. And so it can feel like a real invasion of your personal space if that's not something that you've always done from the start. So if you started doing it, cool. If you haven't, I would have a lot of caution. What specifically went wrong in your case, Cole?
Just like a loss of personal space. Also, I'm competitive.
Okay.
And I don't like to lose.
And were you losing to him?
Sometimes.
Wow, that really ruins a workout, huh?
I know.
All right, we'll move on.
I want to say one more thing about that. I think you can absolutely work out with your significant other. I just think it can't be, especially as Todd said, if you didn't meet in the same group fitness class, it can't be necessary. Like, you also have to keep the ability to work out separately and not need them to be at the workout consistently all the time. You know, it doesn't always have to mesh.
Do I really need to warm up? That is a more complicated question than it appears on the surface.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's different factors that you want to be thinking about when you're warming up. So some things just off the top of the head is, why are you warming up? Is it to review movement and technique, or just to get your body moving? What time of the day is it? What time of the year is it? What is the temperature outside or inside?
Is it a holiday?
How is your soreness? Did you just do a crazy workout the day before, or have you been resting for 5 days? What are the movements going to be? Are you rowing, or are you doing heavy snatches? That's going to change it. What's your intensity level? Again, is it going to be an 85% effort on a row, or are you doing 185 full snatches for reps, right? What is your age, and what is your training age, which are different things? All of those are going to factor into, do you need to, and how long do you need to? So if we take a look at some of those variables that we were talking about before, your age is going to have a big impact. I definitely need more time to warm up than I would suspect Cole does. If not, I'm still going to give myself that time. The intensity level, if I'm going to sit on the erg, I'm going to row for 45 minutes. My warm-up is probably the first 5-minute rowing. I don't really need to be doing much more, but if my workouts are going to involve a lot more load, so heavier things, or a higher level of intensity, then I'm going to want to be doing it. The intensity, for example, if I was going to do Fran, 21-15-9 thrusters and pull-ups, probably going to want to hop on a bike and get my heart rate elevated to where I think it's going to be during the workout, so that when it hits during the workout, it's not the first time that I'm feeling that for that day.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that, and that's just because the first time your heart rate spikes, your central nervous system goes into fight or flight mode, because it's just this new crazy stimulus, and being in fight or flight mode feels terrible. It feels like adrenaline, and you don't feel great. It's just like jumping in a pool. If you jump in a cold pool, it's really cold when you get in the first time. 3 minutes later, it's fine. You can swim around. Same thing happens with your heart rate. So if you don't get your heart rate up before the workout, you're just gonna jump into the pool, and the first couple minutes is gonna feel really weird, and your body's gonna be confused. And that's why getting your heart rate up is really important. It will help, especially for things like Fran, which is gonna jack your heart rate through the roof.
If you take a look at some other variables, time of day, for example, I haven't coached the morning classes in a while. You still do, right?
I was up at 4:30 today.
Yeah, so if you got that 5 a.m. class, there's a good chance that those people have not been up for more than half an hour.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you're gonna need to warm up as an athlete, or as a coach, you're gonna wanna warm up that class much more than you're going to at a noon or a nighttime class, right? So things to be thinking of: what time of the day is it? What time of the year? There's certain facilities that we're in, particularly out in like Queens or Brooklyn, that don't really have forced air heating. They might have a couple of heaters hanging from the ceiling in the corner, which just means, long story short, they never really get that warm in there. You're cold the whole time. Sweatpants on, hoodie on, cap on, and that kind of never comes off during the whole workout. So do you need to warm up? Yes. To what extent and for how long? That's just going to be depending on some of those variables. Yeah. I will say though, in my opinion, the best warm-up for most workouts is doing the movements you're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
There's definitely people, when they'll do their warm-ups, and if they're doing maybe back squats for the day, they're going to be doing single leg box step-ups with a 3-second descent, and they're going to do a couple minutes each side on some ankle mobility and then some core breathing. All of those things, are fine. It's just, if you really are like, how much warm-up do I need to squat? I'm going to say start with an empty barbell, do some empty barbell squats, and then just make some small increases and call that your warm-up instead of just trying to hop to your first working set.
Yeah, I agree.
Very common question, something that is very individual. Should you be working out in the AM or in the PM?
I tend to work out in the PM, like the afternoon, more than I do the AM, just because that's what my body likes. There is no wrong answer. I think the number one thing most of us have to think about in regards to when we should work out is where
I personally am a night person. I can stay up pretty late. 10 o'clock hits, no matter how tired I am, I get a second wind. before I was in fitness, I used to work in tech. I used to work in San Francisco. And the only time after a long days of work, I had no interest in working out. So the only time that I knew I could get my fitness in is if I did it first thing in the morning. Because what you were just saying before, right? There's no excuses. There isn't all these looming things that have hit your calendar throughout the day. So if you get it done in the morning, you know you're not going to have excuses. If you don't know, what you should just know though is whatever it is, it's going to take time to get used to, particularly if it's the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. The first couple weeks are not going to feel as good as it will once you get a good rhythm going. And I've had some 5 a.m. classes, I have some 5 a.m. clients, and some of those people do love to work out at that time, but a lot of them are working out at that time just because they don't really have a choice. Because in New York City, sometimes people work some pretty long work weeks. That's all they got, which is awesome. I love it. I love the hustle that gets you in and gets it done.
I've never had a 5 a.m. client. I don't know what I would even charge for that. So someone that like chooses that is really impressive. I have taught some like 5:30 classes, and the pretty common theme is no one really talks to each other for like the good first half hour.
But I will say, my most consistent classes are always the people that work out that hour. They are always there.
Yeah.
Like evening people, and I get it, evening sometimes work things come up, we have friend things, so evening classes aren't quite as like consistent, but the 5 a.m. classes, 6 a.m. classes that I've taught are just like the same 12 people, ready to rock every single morning. They know they're all great friends with each other, except they don't talk. You're right. The first half an hour is pretty quiet. I have to do all the talking.
You do feel great after it. Like by 6:30 or by that time that the hour's over, you feel alive and everyone else is still asleep. So that is a nice feeling. And I will also say, because I've done the morning shift, I've done the night shift, really bouncing off what Cole was saying, the morning crew is a little more dedicated and a little more focused on their fitness than the night crew. It's a sweeping generalization, and there's like, that's definitely not about anyone specific, but if you're gonna wake up at 5 to get at the gym by 5:30, then you're probably placing a little bit of a higher priority on your fitness, and the more you prioritize your fitness, the more enjoyment I get out of coaching the classes.
Oh, absolutely. I love coaching in the mornings. I don't love working out in the mornings, but coaching is different, so I like coaching in the mornings.
This one's very close to my heart. I love squatting. It's one of my favorite movements. The question is, do I have to squat all the way down? Let's say that differently. Should I be squatting through my full range of motion, or should I be stopping it short?
Squat all the way down.
Every time. Here's the thing. You're only gonna get as strong as the range of motion that you train. So you should be going through your full range of motion to be developing full strength. If you're stopping short, it's either you're gonna find yourself in a situation in the future where you are in a position where you haven't developed strength to be moving out of it. But the other thing is this. People are gonna usually, I'm just trying to think like how to word it. People will tell you maybe to stop at parallel, stop just below parallel, don't squat all the way down. And often what they're saying that because there's something called posterior pelvic tilt or butt wink, which happens in squatting where when you're coming down, as you go below parallel or a little more, you start to get this rounding of the back and the butt kind of tucks down a little bit. The reason that's happening is not because you are squatting too low, it's because you're squatting with improper form. Because if you are keeping your core fully engaged the whole time, that will not happen. You will go through your full range of motion, but you'll stop at a certain point. It's when you relax that middle that allows that rounding to happen and that butt to be tucking. So if you are experiencing something like that, and it's super important that you aren't doing that you are keeping that neutral back the whole time. If you are experiencing some sort of rounding when you're going low, you need to just be working on or finding someone to help you learn how to work on keeping your core engaged through that full range of motion. What do you think?
You know, if you want to talk about safety, cool, and healthiness of your knees, I know everybody likes to have healthy knees, myself included. There are two types of forces when you squat, right? There are compressive forces, aka smushing together, and then there are shear forces, which are when your joints and things move side to side, kind of grind on each other. Compressive forces are really great. Shear forces aren't bad, they just put more pressure on your body. Compressive forces are everywhere. And there's study after study showing that the highest shear forces, that like squeaking by in your knees, happen right above parallel, which is okay because you have to move through that position. But that's one of the reasons why we don't want to stop right above parallel or at parallels, because that's when those shear forces are at their highest. You want to let yourself go all the way down to the bottom of your squat. That way you can use some nice compression to bounce out of it.
And how do I start working out? This is super easy for us to answer. You first go to YouTube.
I would go to YouTube.
Yep.
I would click a link on the Outfit channel for our bootcamp series.
Bootcamp challenge workouts.
You could possibly find that link under this video.
If we remember, it's going to be down in the description. I only give that a 50-50 chance, though. We do have the Bootcamp Challenge workouts. It's 12 workouts. You'll do them over the course of a month, so 3 workouts a week, plus there's a bonus abs workout every week. You only need 1 dumbbell or 1 kettlebell to do that. Everything else we're going to walk you through online. So that's a great way to start doing it. None of the moves are super technical. 4 weeks in, you're going to have a pretty good idea of just how you feel about it overall. It's also 100% free. It's just all on YouTube, so
It's free, it's for me.
yeah, you're already here on YouTube, so it's like not much further. But outside of like shameless promoting, what else would we recommend for how can you start working out? Yeah, just start doing something. And I know that sounds maybe basic or like just an easy answer, but if you just pick something 3 days a week and you carve out the time and you put it in your calendar, you could start for the first couple weeks on Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 7 to 8 p.m. walking for an hour. And if you start walking for an hour, maybe you grab the podcast like Coach Cole was saying, over time, you're gonna start to get not bored, but you're gonna start to get like, okay, I got this, I can go for something a little more challenging. And so then that walk can start to turn into a run. And then that run can start to turn into something else. But what's important is that you like block out that time every week and you just commit to yourself for 3 hours over the course of the week that you're gonna do something. And you will find that you'll want to start progressing. It's just actually starting it and committing to it and putting it in your calendar. That's the hardest part. Once you start that ball moving and that momentum going, you'll start to figure out what you want to be doing in the future.
First time you see yourself get better at something, then you're hooked. Then you're like, oh, I gotta keep getting better.
Yeah, seeing results.
Absolutely. And then I also think another great way to start working out is ask your friends. Be like, hey, do you want to go to this class with me? Do you want to go here? Let's go join a pickleball club? All right, that's fitness. Friends.
A pickle? Is that a thing?
Yeah, there's a huge pickleball club across the street from me.
What is pickleball?
It's kind of like, it's played on a tennis court, and you're played in the front 2 boxes, and you can be singles or partners, and it's like almost like a wiffle ball golf ball,
okay,
but bigger and harder.
Okay.
And you hit it with wooden paddles. I played it in PE in high school.
Okay.
It looks super fun, and I've always watched it and been like, damn, I wish I could do
Pickleball.
pickleball. Anyway,
Okay.
that's besides the point. That's what pickleball is. I'm terrible at it.
Is that called other things in other places?
It's called pickleball. There's like a USA Pickleball Association. I wrote a paper on it for my high school PE class.
Friends make a big difference. Before I moved to New York City, I never in my life would have considered taking a group fitness class. I just thought that wasn't something for me. And then when I moved to New York and I had got laid off from my tech job, and so I started taking some group fitness classes, and I just like having that support and meeting people. Like when you take classes of things that you're actually interested in, and then you meet other people that share those same interests, again, it just becomes the start of something where you might not know where your fitness journey ends, but it's a really fun journey to be on. You ready? All right, so question number 1 is, how do I avoid calluses?
That's a good question. People will tell you different things. I will just tell you my personal way to avoid calluses. They do build up on my hands, and every, I'm gonna say 3 weeks, give or take. Depends also on how much fitness I'm doing, because I'm not doing like a ton of bars, like pull-ups and stuff, not as bad. But every 3 weeks or so, I go with a nail clipper and I cut them off. And it feels like you get fresh skin. It feels like a snake feels when they take their skin off. It's so nice. They come off in like really gross, like chunks of dead skin. And that's what I do. And I haven't ripped my hands in a workout in like 2 years. So,
wow,
that's my answer, straight up.
I mean, the question is, how do I avoid calluses? I don't even know like if that's a great question.
Right, because you don't.
You're right. So you're not going to avoid them. The real answer, which is what Cole was just saying, is proper care. You do want calluses, and it's a little frustrating when you start because it's a process to get them built up. But you're going to want calluses here, kind of at the base of your fingers in particular. You'll get some up here and maybe down in the middle. But it's going to be your natural glove, and it's going to let you go a lot longer in workouts. But what Coach Cole was just saying is that you don't want them to grow forever. And that's what's important.
Yes.
Like what's too big of a callus for you? Or how do you know it's time if you forgot?
I just go by feel. If it feels like the size of a dime, I would say, then it's got to go. But honestly, I like to keep my hands pretty on the soft side. I think.
Yeah.
Todd definitely has bigger calluses than I do, for sure.
Well, I mean, you definitely want to keep them flat, or as flat as possible.
Yeah, as soon as they get bubbly,
Yeah, what happens?
You're gonna tear them off, and it's gonna be not a fun day.
So once they're no longer flat and they get this mound, you're either gonna be on pull-up bars or you're gonna be holding barbells, and the bar is gonna catch it and it's gonna start to bunch it up even more, and it's eventually just gonna rip the whole thing off. And ripping the whole thing off, as much as I just cringed at listening to Cole describe cutting off dead skin with fingernail clippers.
No, it's not cutting off. It doesn't hurt because it's dead skin.
I know, but just even the visual,
it feels like a relief.
The visual of watching people just digging in there.
I'll post a video of it now.
Please do. I won't watch it. It'll make me cringe. But yeah, so you just want to keep them flat. So you want to get a hand file, maybe even a foot callus file. If you're, that's what I use. I use a foot one on my hands. And you can start in the shower. I think I started in the shower just because wet is a little easier at the beginning. So you get a little softer. Definitely slowly go. You're gonna slowly go up and down, and then kind of start to change directions with that file. And then as you start to get more comfortable with it, you can start going faster and then digging it harder. Eventually, you won't need to do it in the shower anymore. You'll just be so used to it. So the goal is not to get rid of calluses. The goal is to manage your calluses, and then just keep them from ripping off. Are you a big fan of gloves in workouts?
I don't dislike gloves. I think gloves remove you a little bit from the thing that you're holding on to, so they make it harder to hold on to. Using grips won't avoid calluses.
It's still causing friction.
Using grips will actually, grips make it easier to hold on to the bar, right? So in theory, because it's easier to hold on to the bar, there's more friction between you and the bar. So if you're really squeezing that grip very hard, there's actually more friction between your hand and the bar, and you're actually more likely to rip if you don't. If you're not very, very comfortable like letting go while the grip holds onto the bar. So that's why some people get frustrated because they're like, I ripped. I'm like, well, if you were squeezing the shit out of the bar, yeah, there's more friction in there, you're gonna rip.
So embrace and love your calluses. Just take care of them.
Yeah, I can't, the pumice stones, whatever you use, it's like nails on a chalkboard to me.
Well,
I'll go in with I used to like straight razor blade them off. Yeah, which I switched to nail clippers because every once in a while you would mess up and it would just hurt. So basically just like razor blade yourself.
So you got two different ways, very different. Not very different, but you can see different reactions to them. Next question. Free weights or machines?
What is your, personally, free weights, unsurprisingly.
But what were you gonna ask? I actually think that question is also what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, it really depends on what you want out of fitness. There's a couple questions you could ask. A, how much experience do you have? All right, if you've never done anything before and you signed up, walked into a gym, understandably it's gonna be easy to use like a lat pull down machine, or like lat. But I like free weights better, and my clients use free weights for the most part. Because it kills more birds with less stones.
Kills more birds with less stones? I think so.
I would think, yeah.
I think that flies.
Like that one.
Yeah. I think if you're learning and if you're going to the gym for the first time, machines might be a good route. Yeah. If you don't have a lot of disposable income outside of that gym membership, there's usually instructions on them. They're usually, pretty straightforward how to use. And what is going to happen is if it gets you into a routine where you now feel comfortable going and working out a couple days a week, then you're definitely on the right journey, and then you can in the future start to when you're pushing and when you're pulling and you just don't have a lot of experience, you don't even feel what muscles are working. You kind of just feel body. You're like, my arm is pushing, but there's a lot more. So as you start to use the machines, you're going to start to get some, I think proprioception is the word, or you're just going to start to become more aware of what's moving and how it's moving, and then that'll actually be a nice time to transition into start learning some free weights. I also agree with Cole for numerous reasons with free weights, but just tying it into if you are a beginner, you can only do machines at places that have machines. Free weights are everywhere. You can buy a couple dumbbells and have them at home. So if you do want to learn something that doesn't make you have to go to that one facility to get fit, and you can do it in all these different places, then when you can, learning free weights is going to be more versatile, and hopefully meaning that you're able to work out more than you would otherwise. And there are some certain machines that I still love.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain machines that are really good at isolating. So that's hard to do with the free weight because you get resistance in directions. It's not just gravity. And you can get resistance in different directions with free weights. You just have to lie down or use an incline bench. Versus, if you have a machine, you can pull from or push lots of different directions. With that said, I am not giving you permission to walk into a Globo gym and use a Smith machine.
That was going to be my next
do
question.
it.
What's the one machine
Don't touch it.
that we don't
go
recommend?
near it. Grab
Yeah.
a dumbbell and do some squats.
What is the Smith
Watch our
machine?
YouTube videos and squat with us.
What is the
Smith machine is essentially a barbell, but it's only allowed to move straight up and down vertically, and it's in a rack. So it's like it's stuck. And you like unhook it and you squat straight up and down because it's stuck in the rack. You hook it back in. It's just a death trap. It basically is a guillotine for your body.
The reality is that
Being dramatic,
your body naturally on every movement is not going to move in that exact line, and so it's going to be forcing you into positions that you wouldn't be doing if you were using some free weights. It looks safer, but I wouldn't recommend any. Yeah, I don't know that I'd recommend anyone ever using it. Can I stop during conditioning? Yeah, I don't have a lot of people quit workouts.
Very seldom. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's happened.
and I definitely, the few times that I've done it, it was bad. Things were bad because it's just an ego thing for me.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm doing a workout, and it can be functional fitness, it can be running, it can be your biking, et cetera, and you have the feeling that you want to stop, or dare I say the word quit, should you, or can you? Obviously you can. There's no one is forcing you to keep going. I don't think there's anyone who's ever done their entire life and never stopped a workout.
I think I've done it 3 times in my life.
3 times in your life. My rule with that is, if I remember the last time I quit a workout, then I'm not allowed to quit.
Ooh, that's a pretty good one. One of the mental games I'll play with myself is accepting that I'm gonna quit, but delaying it. Mm-hmm. So if it's 5 rounds, I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna do 1 more round, and then I'll quit then. And then I do 1 more round, and then I got one more round left. And I'm like, are you really gonna quit with 1 more round left so I can start to, I don't know that I'm recommending that, but it's kind of those mental games that sometimes help me get through longer workouts. If you boil it down to the most simplest way of looking at it, and this is something that I have to tell people coming through fundamentals all the time, is it's not 150 wall balls, it's 1 more wall ball.
Exactly.
It's 1 more wall ball. You can't think about everything, that end line or that finish line that's all the way down there. All you can focus on is the next rep that's in front of you, and if you just stay focused on that, that also, for me, helps me get through long workouts.
There's a quote I really love. It's from a TV show. It's about power, and it's this guy who's talking about like crazy high school football practices and like running a mile and push-ups and pull-ups and like making kids throw up and stuff, and one of his quotes, he got asked like if he quit, and he said, well, I quit every goddamn day, I just didn't ever tell anybody. And I love that quote.
Yeah.
And I've definitely quit in some workouts and definitely doing the same thing. Like, hey, I'm gonna make it to the end of this song that's playing. And then once you do, I'm like, all right, what's the next song? I'm like, oh, Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get through the next one.
Yeah, you can.
Quit on the inside. I quit on the inside quite often during workouts, but just keep going on the outside.
I like that. All right, next question. What do I do when I notice someone's rep shaving? What is rep shaving?
Rep shaving is if there's 30 wall balls at hand in the workout, somebody does 26 or 24. Or
Under the assumption they did 30.
under the assumption they did 30, whether it be purposeful or not. Cool. Intention doesn't really matter. I know that might be an argument some people might have with me. I don't think your rep shaving, even if it's intentional or not, makes a difference whether you're still rep shaving.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I think there's a difference between, and I know some people, just from talking to people, actively count to 24 instead of 30, and some people just don't count, which confuses me. I didn't know that was a thing, but some people are just like, do some wall balls.
What's that mean? Some people do some wall balls.
Like-
The workout is 5 rounds, row 500 meters, 20 wall balls.
Mm-hmm. Some people just like really don't count their wall balls. This was news to me as well. I had a whole conversation with a class about that.
And
Sometimes you're like, I just do wall balls with the person next to me because I lose count. Same difference. What do you do with someone's rep shaving?
as a coach,
As
or
a coach.
as a
As a
coach.
coach.
First of all, I'll say this: rep shavers, intentional, particularly rep shavers. I want to say 80% of the time, the people running the class know you're doing it. How much they let on that they know you're doing it is different, but I know how long things take. And I know the average skill level of most of the athletes. You know, the facility that I work in doesn't have drop-ins. It's only monthly people. So we don't have new faces coming and going all the time. It's a lot more consistent. So I also get really excited about high performers.
Absolutely.
And so if you finish a round really fast, I'm actually really excited about that, particularly maybe if you're newer to me. And so the default behavior for me in workouts is to be counting reps. When I'm looking at things, I'm looking at clocks, I'm kind of like always counting. So if you're moving super quickly, I'm probably counting just to verify it. If athletes have told the coach, that's something that's an option. That's definitely on our radar. The question is like, how do you handle it? And it's going to be an athlete per athlete basis, and in particularly what you think their intention is. Are they doing it, or are they just doing wall balls next to somebody else and aren't really paying attention and then reporting a number that's not accurate? I think the challenge is just that if you are an intentional rep shaver, you're doing it for the purpose of wanting to finish before other people.
Yeah.
That's just that's a psychological issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is hard to be like, how do you fix this, right? Because
I'm not gonna fix it for you. Yeah.
I'm softly gonna say things. I'm gonna be like, hey, let's make sure we're hitting 25 every round. If we're doing 25 air squats and I think they're doing less. And then if that doesn't work, then maybe on a different day, I'll be more specific and I'll be like, hey, I was just counting some people and I noticed, and I'll specifically tell them that they didn't do it. And based on that, they're either gonna adjust it, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, people are on me, or they're not. I'm not really gonna do much more besides that, and I honestly think that peer pressure in the class tends to fix things more than asking a coach to do something where like the coach is just trying to get people fit and not deal with people's issues of trying to like raise their self-importance or their feeling among the peers in the other class by doing something like reporting false reps or false times. You're still concerning yourself with someone else, and you're wasting your time and your energy on what they're doing when it doesn't impact your fitness at all. Is there a good way to ask somebody out in the gym?
I don't actually think this question is super different from if can you ask someone out? Is there a good way to ask someone out? Yeah, make sure that person is comfortable around you, they like you, you're not in a space to make them super uncomfortable by asking them out or make their life weird.
And I want to point out that this question is not, is there a good way to hook up with someone at the gym? Because that's very different than if you're actually trying to find someone to date, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's
somewhat different.
Yes.
Not completely different. I don't know.
I think it's completely different. If you're dating, the goal of dating is at the end to be in some sort of
How do you know
relationship.
you want to be in a relationship with someone if you've never hooked up with them? I know some people can say that they can do that. I think that's BS. You gotta hook up with them. You gotta know. Try the milk before you buy the cow.
Does it have to come in a particular order in a particular timeline?
No, absolutely not. Like you can go on dates or like whatever, vice versa.
So yes, you can still go on dates with people.
Yeah. Yeah,
and not hook up with them and go on a date or two and be like, oh, there's no point in us exploring this any further. If I slide in your DM and I was like, hey, cool, I was thinking of going to catch the new Marvel movie on Saturday at 7 p.m.
So you mean like outright ask on dates versus like a under the radar do something together?
Like what, that question there, is that a date? Are you calling that a date? Or are they saying, hey, let's go out I want to take you out on a date?
I'm calling that a date, either whether you say it's a date or not.
I wouldn't call that a date.
Who am I going to go to the movies with someone I don't know randomly?
You would go with just friends.
More
than
one.
You would go with just one friend. If I said, let's go to the movies on this weekend, you'd be like, that's a date?
But if I don't, I just feel like you can tell.
Maybe I'm being particular because I don't want to say I've dated certain people, but I went out with them to see if I was interested in dating them. And maybe I'm just being overly anal about it.
I guess. There's a difference between being like, I want to go on a date with you, and like, hey, do you want to hang out and get drinks, or like, do you want to go to this bacon festival or something? I don't know. Again, coming back to being creative, if you ask me to the movies, I don't like the movies, so I'm probably just going to say no. If you ask me to the bacon festival in October, there's a much higher chance of me saying yes. So when you ask someone out, be creative about it.
Where is this bacon October?
It's like a beer and bacon festival. It's on Randall's Island.
Oh.
It's like $80 unlimited beer and bacon.
Oh my god, so much bacon.
I know, I'm gonna feel disgusting afterwards if I go. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna go because of that.
All right, well, if you're trying to shoot your shot with Coach Cole, you got a little bit of time to slide in that DM and see if he wants to go get bacon and beer in October. Can I put my stuff away if other people are still working out? It's a very specific question, speaking about functional fitness and group workouts.
Yeah.
More though, what are they really asking in this question?
They're just asking like if class is still going, but you finished the workout before somebody else for the most part, can you start putting your barbell away? Can you start putting your plates away, dumbbells, whatever you used? And also probably can you leave or should you just sit down and hang out? I definitely feel that personally, if I'm coaching, I would prefer you wait for other people to finish, especially if you finish the workout, a minute early. It's really not that hard. If you finish the workout 25 minutes before somebody else because it's some crazy long WOD on a Saturday, there's a difference. But if there's a minute and 12 seconds left on the clock, I just think it's respectful if you just sit down. You're probably going to want to take a second to breathe anyway, and just wait for everybody to finish. The only exception to that is if I ever run class over and you're in my class and it's past, let's say, 6:30, which is when class is supposed to end, then you're free to go. Get out of here. It's fine. I get it. People have places to be. But if there's still 10 minutes left in class, I'm probably going to make you do some more things. So probably don't run away yet anyway. How do you feel about this?
Ditto.
Ditto?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said we were going to argue about this one.
I didn't know you were going to say that. I thought you were going to be like, no exception.
No,
Staying away. Yeah, no, if you budgeted time to be in that workout, I think the thing that frustrates me is in the past people will come and they want to leave as soon as possible no matter what. They're not going to wait until that class is over.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if they can leave 3 minutes early, they will leave 3 minutes early or 5 or 10. And so a lot of the things, particularly in New York City, is for you to put things away, or at least places that I am, you usually need, you need to be walking through or around and going through things. And that's other things where you just got done with this workout. A lot of people are kind of brain dead and not exactly fully aware of their space and surroundings and what they're doing. And if you have a rowing machine and they're rowing it through the gym, calm down for a second. I understand the sense of urgency from time to time, but if we have done our jobs, which means we're running a class appropriately and we're going to get everyone in and out in appropriate time, just do what Cole said. Next question. Do I need to take any supplements?
You do.
I do?
Kidding, it was a joke.
Wow.
It was a joke.
No.
No.
I tell people that ask me this question the same thing that I tell usually my private clients want to have a conversation, or some of them, about taking some sort of performance enhancing drugs, like not over the counter or not legal, let's just say.
Are we talking about illegal supplements here?
No, we're
Okay.
talking about over the counter. But sometimes my clients, if you're paying someone to train you 3 or 4 days a week, you may have a certain aesthetic goal that you want to get to, and
Absolutely.
so they're like, should I be taking steroids or something? And all of them get the same answer, and it's the same answer here. Have you exhausted just normal training to not get your goals? And that's the time to start evaluating if you should start putting something in. So what I'm saying is, are you actually on a good workout plan? Are you consistent at the gym? Do you have smart programming that's doing some sort of progressions that's going to be increasing strength, which is what a lot of people probably watching this are interested in?
Yeah.
Are you doing all that right? The good sleep and nutrition, most of them aren't. And so instead of fixing that area, they want to start taking some sort of powder that's supposed to fix everything. So again, looking at your sleep and looking at your diet and your how good you are at recovering and how often you're working out is where you should be focusing on, and not just what else can you pump in. With that being said, what would be the first supplement you would recommend?
I listen to a lot of fitness podcasts of very successful fitness coaches. And a couple of them recently have put caffeine up on the top of their list. Lots of stuff behind it that's performance enhancing. It can enhance your focus. It can make you feel generally better. If you don't take a ton of it, the crash isn't crazy. If you just are mindful of the half-life of it, as long as you have it before 3 to 4 p.m., you should be able to go to bed without having a ton of it in your system.
Noon for me, but regardless.
Yeah, I mean, it's different for everybody. But I don't think it's a daily need, but I do think caffeine's actually a decently good supplement. That being said, you don't just get to drink Coke because I said caffeine is good. Coke is not great.
Why is that?
It's full of sugar. We don't like sugar.
Yeah, because it's full of sugar.
I love sugar.
You can get caffeine without having to have 30, 40, 50 grams of sugar in that serving.
Absolutely. What's your top supplement?
I mean, I agree in this conversation that protein and caffeine would fit into this category as supplements. That's just not something that instantly pops into my head, though. Definitely
Okay.
caffeine. I have caffeine. I mean, I have coffee every morning.
Oh,
so
me too. Yeah, absolutely.
So I definitely am taking that every day. And I do think that there is a time and a place for protein. I would much rather have my clients eat real food, as I know you would. But that reality, particularly we're in New York City and you're on the go. So if you come here and you work out and you leave your workout at 7 o'clock, but you know you're not getting home until 9 or 10 o'clock because of other errands you got to run on the way home, then yeah, I'm going to agree that taking a protein shake after that workout is the right decision. But if you can't have real food, that's always going to be that first preference. The one that I was thinking about that I thought you would say, but you didn't. Creatine. Was creatine.
Yeah, well, I can go over all of that.
That's usually my first one. It's heavily researched, it's heavily studied.
Absolutely.
It's very, it's agreed upon in many areas that it is good. Something though you do want to be careful about the creatine is that you get creatine and you don't get everything else that's added into it. So there's going to be a lot of supplements that creatine is just one ingredient, and then they're going to have either different caffeines or different kind of stimulants, maybe some protein in there, but just creatine. That scoop is like this. The scoop should be like this big, all white, unflavored unless it has a specific flavor. That I would recommend if you are interested in increasing muscle size, which is what most of my clients are, and you feel like you've done everything in proper training and diet to get to that point, then yeah, taking creatine is definitely, in my opinion, that first good step. I've taken creatine for years, and some of the consistent effects that it's had on me, one is that you do have I have experienced a little bit of water retention. I never really minded it. It actually, for me, usually feels good to feel a little bigger. That's me. The other thing, though, is
size queen.
My secret's out. The other thing about creatine, in my experience, is that once I start taking it, I do it, and I always, in my mind, think this is a mini version of what it would be like if I took steroids, which I would never do for the reason I'm about to explain. I feel stronger. I feel like if 2 weeks prior, if I wasn't taking that creatine, that 5th and 6th rep, I wouldn't have been able to get out, and I can feel it. That's where I feel. It's like on the margin, on the difference. It's just like, wow, I wouldn't have been able to do that before, and that's a powerful feeling for me. When you go off of it, that also goes away. That feeling of that 5th and 6th rep, and that needing to be on it to feel that way can kind of make you feel locked in, and it's actually the same reason that I tell my private training clients when they start asking about illegal steroids, it's the same thing. Once you get on that boat, it's really hard to get off without being very sad, get into depression, and like feeling what you're seeing in the mirror isn't who you are or who you should be. So those are my 2 experiences with it. I will also say though, if you are going to do it, there in the past, a lot of the products, a lot of companies said there was a loading phase in the beginning where you needed to load for 7 to 10 days and then you could just take it regularly. That is not true. That is not necessary. It's great for selling extra product, but not actually true. So just make sure you read up about the instructions. And if that product does say a loading stage is necessary, I would just do a little research on your own on the internet to see if that's something you agree with.
Should I do cardio first or weight training first? That's the question.
Yeah, that's a really standard beginning training question.
What's your answer for this?
My answer is you should do weight training first and then cardio second with an asterisk next to it. And that asterisk means most people that are asking me this question are more interested in getting stronger and bigger. And so if that is true, then you're gonna prioritize the strength training and then finish with the cardio. How would you answer it?
I think weight training first is probably the best option for most people because weight training more often than cardio requires a lot more deliberate practice, requires a lot more focus, requires a lot more technique work, and you're probably just in a better headspace before you do cardio to give that like high level of focus for it, all right?
Question number 1, how long should I work out? If you're asking the question, how long should I work out? I'm just gonna believe you don't have a lot of experience working out.
Sure.
And so my default response is gonna be 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 60 to 90 minutes. What do you think about that?
Very similar. If you're a class person, it's however long the class is.
Right.
That's easy to do. I think the 90-minute range is probably pretty good. You need 90 minutes, give or take, to get a lot of things done, with the exception of if you're like super on it. cool. Sometimes I dilly-dally when I work out. If my phone's away and I have the clock running, you can get it done faster. But I think 60 to 90 minutes is really that sweet spot of like if you're talking to people, hanging out on your phone a little bit, you need that much time to get a good workout in, get enough stuff done in your session, feel good about it afterwards.
Next question. Do you have a gym enemy?
I don't, that I know of, have a gym enemy. Does this person have something against me?
You know as much about the question as I do. I don't think they have something against you. I think for some reason you got beef with them. Not particularly, I'm gonna guess because they're stronger than you, faster than you, or some option like that. That's the only kind of enemy I think about the gym.
With every person I worked out with who was better than me. I had beef with a lot of people. Not that I know of, but if they're smart, they'll not let me know about it and then like plan my demise.
Oh.
I don't know when it comes. So that's what I would do to my gym enemy. Not that I have a gym enemy.
I don't have a gym enemy, but I do have some people that I keep my eye on. And by that, I mean, I think we're similar strength, we're similar builds. And so if they're doing certain movements or certain lifts better than I know I can, or heavier than I know I can, then that's a check for me that maybe I need to be stepping up my game. I think that can be helpful, it can be healthy, a healthy competition. And I think you can have a healthy competition with somebody and they don't need to know that it's happening.
Working out with people who are better than you is one of the best things to like push your fitness to another level.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think of those people as my enemies.
Yeah. Too strong of a word for you, huh, Cole?
Keep your friends close and your enemies closer, so.
Next question. What was hard for you to learn when it comes to fitness, I imagine?
I don't know, most movements were really easy for me to learn, so I can talk about that. Pacing, I think.
Pacing is super hard,
Pacing is really hard for me to learn that you gotta go slower to go faster. And
yeah, explain what that means a little more though.
It's really easy to floor it in the beginning of a workout. To start rowing fast, to hop on the bike and, you know, hit that bike at 400 watts if you're someone who uses an assault bike or an echo bike, or row at like 15 or 1600 at the beginning of a workout because you feel good, you feel awesome. I'm not going to hold 1600 on the rower when I'm doing wall balls and burpees as well. It's not going to happen. So you really need to come out of the gate, and I won't mean just the gate. I think that was the hardest thing for me to learn. The first 30 seconds of the workout is not the only time to go slow and relax. You need to be, for most workouts, you really need to pull back a little bit if you want to be able to stay consistent and find a really good groove.
I agree with that. With pacing, most athletes go out too hard, too fast.
Absolutely.
And that's pretty common part of the fitness journey. I think the hardest part, and this definitely took me a while to do, is you also need to do a couple workouts where you hold back too much.
Sure, yeah.
It's gonna be a little frustrating in the moment, but that's where you need to learn your individual threshold for what actually 85% effort is. And a lot of us know what hard is, but it's, you know, like 100%, but learning that 85% I think is just as challenging. And so sometimes you have to go too slow in one or two workouts to find that medium. You can always go faster later into workouts.
Yeah, exactly.
Coming out too hot and slowing down is not the same. You are not able to kind of get the workout finish the way you want.
What was hard for you to learn?
Pacing was definitely hard. That's not the first thing that came to mind. Two movements in particular came to mind.
Okay.
First one just being double unders.
Okay.
When I learned this 10 years ago, there were no progressions. They just handed you a jump rope and said, okay, jump once and revolve the rope twice under. And so it literally took me just like 2 months to even get it. And then before I could do 10 or 15 consecutive, it was another 3 months of daily practice. It was very frustrating. It's super easy now. I can literally teach someone that walks in that has never done double unders 50% of the time. They know how to do it in about 3 minutes of coaching. So we've come a long way, but back then that was really hard. I also, of all the movements that we do in the functional fitness world, if you looked at my lifts, and there's like certain percentages that put you into certain experience levels or strength levels, my snatch was always well behind all of my lifts. My full snatch in particular, catching it below parallel. And that literally took me stopping and going on an Olympic weightlifting program for about a year where it was just clean jerk, snatch, squat, accessory lifts like that, for me to actually get my snatch up to where it should be. And in the end, it sent me to nationals, but that took 2 years of focusing on that. Granted, it wasn't just that, but it definitely other things went on the back burner. I hated the movement. I think a lot of people hate movements that they don't know or aren't good at.
The snatch is
Now that I'm good at it,
commonly hated.
I'm pretty fond of it. And when you do a heavy snatch properly, it's a pretty good feeling.
Oh, yeah, it is. I mean, the snatch is, a classic full snatch is arguably one of the most technical movements in like any sport, period. So maybe it is that it's really hard for you to learn it, and maybe a little bit it's just the fact that it's one of the hardest movements to learn. It's gonna take longer than the others. It takes me a lot longer to learn how to snatch than it took me to learn how to push press.
Yeah.
There's a lot more shit going on in there, so it takes longer. Which I think is a fun thing because it gives you things to do.
Yeah, that's something that I usually share with people that come out of fundamentals or that are in fundamentals.
Yeah.
If they're getting really frustrated by the Olympic lifts, I just remind them that these are called the Olympic lifts for a reason. People train their entire lives to get a heavy clean and a heavy clean jerk and a heavy snatch. So if you're an adult learning this movement on day one, it's going to take some time.
Absolutely. Ring muscle ups are pretty hard to learn relatively.
Ring muscle ups are challenging, yeah.
It's another challenging movement that
Yeah.
people find up there with the snatch. And it's a lot of, I think it's very challenging for people, the snatch as well, snatch, ring muscle ups, because it's a lot of coordination and not necessarily strength. Like a lot of people know that they're strong enough to do ring muscle ups. They can do 45 ring dips. I mean, you can do a ring muscle up. Same thing with the snatch. You know, you can go back squat 350. If you can't snatch 135, it's just because something's going on in the head. It's not connecting, which can be frustrating because you know you can do
or
it.
mobility.
Yeah, right.
But,
Sure,
you know,
exactly.
Maybe a combo of both, but a lot
mobility
of
and
it's
coordination are very
mental.
the same.
A lot of that's mental.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point about ring muscle ups. I find that it's best to get people practicing strict ring muscle ups on low rings.
Yeah, it's all low ring drilling.
Yeah, and I also find that people find that very boring, and they quickly don't seem to be as interested in getting their first ring muscle up
anymore.
when they see the work that they have to do and the work that other people have already done. But I guess that's just part of the journey. All right, here we go. Last question. What is the hardest workout you've ever done? Cole, what's the hardest workout you've ever done?
I remember it like it was yesterday.
Oh.
Several years ago. It was called 31 Heroes.
Sounds gross.
It was a partner workout. It is a 31-minute AMRAP. Partner one is doing 8 thrusters at 155. So, yeah, very heavy. Todd's doing 8 thrusters.
At 155?
Yeah, and then he's doing 6 rope climbs.
Okay.
And then he's doing 11 box jumps at 30 inches, so like the tall box. While he's doing that, I have a 45-pound plate and I'm running 400 meters. Every time I get back, we switch, and we just go for 31 minutes. And it was absolute, like, chaos. My upper body
So
was...
you're just picking up where I left off, where I'm leaving, and I'm
No one gets any
I'm
rest
going for a run.
anywhere. Yeah, with the 45-pound plate.
And it's a 35-minute AMRAP?
31-minute AMRAP.
31?
It's tough.
That's gross.
It blew up my arms like I've never experienced before. I couldn't drive home after it. I really couldn't. My ex-boyfriend had to drive my car home.
Who won the workout?
Well, it was a partner workout.
Oh,
We
so
did
you
it
guys-
together.
Coach Cole hates losing the workout.
He did. You can still do a workout with a partner and know who won it.
Sure.
He won that one.
Oh man, just a little bit of you inside just died admitting that.
No, because I was so in my own hole, it didn't matter. That one really didn't matter.
All right.
What's your hardest workout you've ever done?
The hardest workout I ever done, it was years ago. I want to say 7 years ago, which is ironic based on the name, but I feel like I remember it yesterday.
Yeah.
What?
I'm wondering if these feel super hard because we're a lot fitter. Like I have not been put in a hole that miserable in a while, but that might be because I'm just fitter and stronger now, and it happens less often.
I definitely think it's fitter. We know how to like know when to push and when to take a break.
I know that I can't do just 8 thrusters at 155 over and over and over again.
Well, so the workout that I was doing, it was a hero WOD. It was the 7s.
Okay.
So it's 7 rounds of 7 reps of 7 movements. Those 7 movements are handstand push-ups, thrusters, deadlifts,
arms,
burpees,
arms,
American kettlebell swings,
hinge,
and then pull-ups.
arms. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Thrusters were 135.
Yeah, the heavy
I
thrusters.
thought that was going to be the heavy thruster of this conversation. You won with the 8 at 155. That's the hardest part of the workout. Unbroken 7 thrusters at 135 for the 7s.
Oh, those 8 were not unbroken. Very quickly, there was like 2s.
Also not a partner workout, so it's all you. It was that, and you had a 40-minute time cap.
Yeah.
And it was just, and I definitely hit the time cap. And definitely in one of the prior videos, we talked about quitting workouts or not quitting workouts or quitting in your head, but not quitting on the outside. I quit that workout numerous times.
Yeah, you can quit a workout while it's happening, and you can still keep going, but you've already quit.
Oh,
you
man.
Quit again 3 minutes later, yeah, then.
But I think that one of the reasons is that, you know, the RX weight was 135 for the thrusters, it was 245 for the deadlifts. 245 for the deadlifts wasn't super bad, but
The thrust.
I think nowadays, like, we can do the RX and it's not as challenging as it was. Like, I should not have probably been doing 135.
Oh, I shouldn't have been on a 155 barbell.
Yeah.
No.
So I think we're just stronger, and so we can do the prescribed weights easier, and so we don't go into such a dark hole. All right. Nice work, Cole.
Good job, Todd.
Comfy?
Very.
All right, Cole's getting comfy. We're gonna
Nope.
we're gonna get out of here. I'm Todd.
I'm Cole.
We'll see you next
Ow.
time. Peace.
Whew. It's been a long week.